Ever wondered why some of Hollywood's most notorious flops have defied time to become cult treasures? From zombie-infested graveyards to towering Gila mongers, the 1950s spawned some of the campiest, cringeworthy, yet irresistibly charming films ever made. Tonight on Golden Age Classics, buckle up for 14 worst movies of the 50s that many people still love. Let's dive into the deliciously dreadful treasures that refuse to stay buried. Plan 9 from Outer Space, 1959. When aliens decide the only way to stop humanity from destroying itself is to resurrect the dead, Plan 9 ensues. A gaudy parade of floating corpses, wobbling saucers, and dialogue so earnest it becomes a hypnotic camp. Ed Wood Jr. wrote, directed, and produced this passion project on a shoestring budget, reportedly around $60,000. Scavenging a local cemetery for night exterior shoots, and leaning on stock footage of Bela Lugosi to fill out the cast after his untimely death. Lugosi's spectral cameo consists of random graveyard close-ups spliced into scenes he never actually filmed. Gregory Walcott delivers heartfelt monologues about universal heart transplant devices, a blinking cardboard box, entirely oblivious to the fact that his zombies drift several feet off the ground or vanish mid-shot. Continuity errors, chairs moving, characters appearing and disappearing compound the film's irresistible oddness. Wood's DIY flying saucers wobble against rear projection backdrops. Torches flare in the wrong direction. Even the script's earnest plea for world peace feels out of sync with its shambolic realization. Upon release, critics savaged it as incoherent junk, but audiences soon discovered its gleeful sincerity. Midnight screenings erupted in laughter and applause. Mystery Science Theater. 3000 cemented its legacy by lovingly mocking each gaffe, transforming it into the standard-bearer for so bad it's brilliant. Today, cinephiles celebrate Plan 9, not for any technical prowess, but for Wood's unyielding creative spirit. A testament that passion, however unrefined, can outshine polish and bind a community of devoted fans across decades. Robot Monster, 1953. At first glance, Robot Monster looks like a stuntman in a gorilla suit with a diving helmet, lumbering through tattered foliage. Yet, in its own bizarre way, it's a masterpiece of earnest lunacy. Director Phil Tucker shot the entire thing for roughly $16,000, reusing Universal's Jungle Island sets and cobbling Roman's costume together with duct tape and bargain bin parts. George Nader stars as Jeff King, one of the last survivors after an alien invasion, and Claudia Barber plays his fiancée, trapped in a world where the only other sentient life is the lumbering Roman himself. Wyatt Ordung's portrayal of the robot, complete with melodramatic proclamations of all life on Earth must perish, straddles the line between threat and accidental comedy. Production tales abound. Tucker allegedly paid crew in gasoline coupons to skirt post-war shortages, and chimpanzees wandered the set to fill out native jungles. The so-called death ray effects consist of flashbulb flares crudely superimposed in post, while the romance subplot, robot woos mortal woman with a single rose, adds an unintended poignancy. Critics initially fled drive-ins in droves, appalled by the film's narrative thinness and patchwork visuals, yet underground midnight revivals embraced its sincerity. By the 70s, film preservationists had rediscovered Robot Monster, celebrating its DIY spirit and singular charm. Modern screenings often end in standing ovations, not for any technical merit, but for the film's unshakable conviction. A creature feature oddity that proves you don't need millions to make something unforgettable. The Conqueror, 1956. Hollywood legend meets Cold War tragedy in The Conqueror, where John Wayne swaps 6 guns for Mongol armor, portraying Genghis Khan in a lavish epic bankrolled by Howard Hughes. With a budget north of $6 million, an astronomical sum in the mid-50s, Hughes chose Utah's red rock deserts for their sweeping vistas, unaware they lay downwind of nuclear test sites. Many cast and crew, including Pedro Armendáriz and Agnes Moorehead, later succumbed to cancer, sparking lawsuits that still linger in Hollywood lore. Wayne's accent veers between gravelly mutter and bewildered drawl, his imposing screen presence dwarfing underscale tents and cosplay hodgepodges that mix faux fur with bargain bin textiles. Susan Hayward's Princess Boretie swaggers through opulent gowns that look like mismatched thrift finds. Howard Hughes insisted on color film to capture the desert's glow, yet the result feels more like a surreal painting than a period piece. Critics lambasted its historical inaccuracies, who casts a Texan cowboy as the father of Mongol hordes, and panned its wooden dialogue, but modern analysts find a tragic poetry in its unintended consequences. The Conqueror lives on, less as an epic tale and more as a cautionary footnote, a reminder that unchecked ambition and real-world hazards can taint even the grandest ventures. Today it's studied in film schools as much for its production mistakes as for its on-screen spectacle, a poignant monument to Hollywood's high-stakes gamble. Glen or Glenda, 1953. Glen or Glenda breaks mid-century taboos, tackling gender identity with a sincerity rarely seen in mainstream cinema. Ed Wood Jr. wrote, directed, and starred as Glen Glenda, weaving his own struggles into a fragmented narrative that oscillates between dreamlike vignettes and preachy asides. On a budget under $20,000, Wood shot on recycled nightclub sets. His Angora scenes feature visible rigging and haphazard lighting that spill stage lamps into frame, yet these rough edges amplify the film's raw emotional core. Glen's yearning for makeup and dresses unfolds against louche cabaret backdrops, while Tor Johnson's hulking closet monster represents societal fears in grotesque form. Bela Lugosi drifts in and out, delivering portentous monologues, his once grand presence lending eerie gravitas. Critics reviled its disjointed structure and wooden performances, but queer historians now hail it as pioneering, one of the first sympathetic trans narratives on film. Annual retrospectives at LGBTQ+ festivals celebrate its DIY boldness, framing Wood not as a hack, but as a fearless auteur who refused to hide. Today, Glen or Glenda occupies a paradoxical niche, simultaneously mocked for its campy failures and revered for its heartfelt advocacy, a testament that authenticity can resonate long after Polish has faded. Bedtime for Bonzo, 1951. Imagine a future president trading policy papers for primate antics. That's Ronald Reagan in Bedtime for Bonzo, a contrived comedy where a psychology professor adopts Bonzo, the chimp to settle the nature versus nurture debate. Directed by Fred de Cordova, Universal Pictures doubled down on its gimmick, promoting Bonzo as Reagan's co-star in magazine spreads and newsreels. The behind-the-scenes chaos, chimp tantrums, broken furniture, and trainers wielding treat-filled bags, stretched shoots into grueling night sessions. Reagan, ever the professional, soldiered on through banana peels and literal monkey business, while Diana Lynn tried in vain to inject grace as the coat-and-tie love interest. Critics lambasted its contrivance and Reagan's stiff interactions with his simian co-star, yet audiences flocked to afternoon matinees, charmed by the absurd premise. The film spawned a sequel that bizarrely recast Reagan but kept Bonzo, underscoring Hollywood's belief that a monkey could outdraw a future president. Today, Bedtime for Bonzo is dissected in film schools as a case study in animal talent exploitation and 1950s family values, its slapstick set pieces still eliciting laughter and incredulity in equal measure. It remains a nostalgic relic, a time capsule of innocence and absurdity rolled into one furry package. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, 1958. Few images scorch the retina like a towering heiress striding through miniature cars. Allison Hayes, as Nancy Archer, irradiated by alien rays, grows to titanic proportions in one of the decade's campiest sci-fi outings. Directed by Nathan H. Juran on a lean sub-$100,000 budget, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman blends DIY ingenuity, split-screen photography, oversized props, and hand-painted mats, with genuine thematic bite. Nancy's rampage is as much about cosmic power as it is a feminist fable, betrayed by her philandering husband. She wields her newfound might to topple patriarchal structures one tiny car at a time. Off-camera, cast recalls blistering outdoor shoots under merciless sun, Hayes alternating between goddess-like poise and gravel-voiced fury. Critics of the era dismissed it as sensationalist trash, but later feminist critics reclaimed it, citing Nancy's vengeance as proto-feminist spectacle. Its iconic bikini shots inspired countless homages in music videos and genre films, and modern retrospectives place it among the most enduring symbols of sci-fi schlock-turned cult classic. Grassroots film societies celebrate its contradictions, cheap effects married to bold ideas, proving that creativity can outshine cash when the script dares to dream big. Catwoman of the Moon, 1953. Catwoman of the Moon lures us into a hazardous lunar expedition where crews encounter a hidden civilization of seductive, telepathic catwomen. Directed by Arthur Hilton and featuring one of Elmer Bernstein's earliest sci-fi scores, misspelled in the credits as Bernstein, the film stars Sonny Tufts and Marie Windsor lumbering through leopard print costumes stapled onto nylon gowns. One of the first widescreen 3D features, it exploited rapid editing and over-the-top close-ups to elicit heart-pounding thrills. But the costumes and sets betray their thrift store origins at every turn. Critics panned its flimsy narrative and hammy acting, yet midnight movie mavens transformed its camp appeal into a cult phenomenon. The notion of lunar Amazon warriors, hissing and seducing astronauts, proved irresistible at drive-ins. Its jazzy orchestral cues pulse under every scene, and the film's audacity, blending space travel, romance, and pulp horror, cements its place in genre history. Today, Catwoman of the Moon is celebrated at retro cinema festivals, where audiences cheer each feline ambush, proving that outrageous premises and thrift shop aesthetics can spark enduring affection. The Giant Claw, 1957. When Columbia Pictures decided to thrill audiences with an otherworldly menace, it unleashed the Giant Claw, a creature feature that inadvertently became synonymous with Hollywood's most gloriously inept special effects. Directed by veteran B-movie craftsman Fred F. Sears and produced under Sam Katzman's cost-conscious regime, the film stars Jeff Morrow as Dr. Jamie Ross, a scientist who witnesses a gargantuan avian terror whose wingspan dwarfs city skylines, and Mara Corday as Nikki Carlton, whose jazzy nightclub performance plays ironically against frantic newsreel footage of the rampaging beast. Despite a modest budget in the low six figures, paltry even by 1950s standards, the production invested heavily in sculpting a papier-mâché monstrosity that proved too unwieldy to pass as credible. Audiences first glimpsed the creature in matte-painted skies, where a handheld puppet head flaps on strings, prompting both laughter and awe. As fighter jets attempt to intercept the behemoth, the mismatch between live-action jet footage and the decidedly stationary bird head jolts viewers from cinematic immersion. Sam Katzman, known for churning out serials and B-movie quickies, greenlit the project after noticing audience appetite for creature features spurred by The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Though Katzman's approach prioritized speed over scope, he still ordered location shooting at a small airfield to capture realistic jet sequences, paying local pilots to fly vintage F-86 fighters for less than a week of filming. The script, credited to Robert E. Kent under a pseudonym, emphasizes newspaper headlines and radio dispatches to mask affordable monster footage, intercutting genuine stock footage of military convoys with scenes of terrified civilians fleeing dog-eared streets. The studio's most infamous decision came when executives, unhappy with the puppet's underwhelming presence, filmed an animated outline of the monster superimposed over demolition footage, an effect so abrupt that some prints feature both puppet and cartoon bird decapitating lampposts in the same sequence. Jeff Morrow, who had climbed through Republic Pictures westerns, brings stoic seriousness to Ross's scientific ruminations. In interviews, he admitted being baffled by the giant puppet, unsure whether to deliver lines to it or to the empty set. Mara Corday, a former singer and pin-up model, found herself typecast in sci-fi B-movies. Her nightclub scenes remain the only time the film pauses for genuine musical performance, complete with a sultry saxophone solo. Composer Misha Bakaleynikov's score, recorded in a single afternoon session, alternates between war march motifs and brassy cues reminiscent of newsreel trailers. Critics lambasted The Giant Claw as a fiasco, so much so that Variety quipped it was the world's laziest monster. Yet by the 1970s, Midnight Movie curators and Mystery Science Theater 3,000 viewers elevated it to cult art, celebrating every wobbling feather and every hapless attempt at genuine terror. Today, original lobby cards fetch collectible prices, and fan forums dissect each flub with affectionate humor, proving that charm often lies in cinematic missteps rather than perfection. Teenage Caveman, 1958. Emerging from the sun-scorched canyons of a post-apocalyptic future, Teenage Caveman presents a stark vision of humanity pushed to its primordial roots. Produced by Burt Gordon, soon to earn the nickname Mr. B.I.G., and directed by Gina Theodore Spencer, the film stars Grant Williams as Tumac, a brave youth whose curiosity propels him beyond tribal boundaries into forbidden ruins. Gordon, infamous for repurposing stock footage, integrates erupting volcanoes and nuclear blast reels into his narrative, while hand-painted backdrops and sparse tribal huts constructed from weathered timber and matting evoke a world ravaged by unseen cataclysms. Filmed on location in Arizona's desert canyons for under $120,000, the crew struggled under relentless sun and persistent windstorms that scattered art department sand across the set. Director Spencer, previously a cinematographer, experimented with low-angle shots to amplify the teenagers' shadows against bleached horizons, inadvertently crafting some of the decade's most haunting B-movie imagery. Grant Williams, fresh from his role in The Incredible Shrinking Man, performed most of his own stunts, scrambling over precarious rock ledges without a double, his leather loincloth shifting with every cautious step. Les Baxter's score, recorded in a marathon session, melds tribal drums with ethereal theremin pulses, underscoring Tumac's quest with an otherworldly urgency. The screenplay, attributed to Lou Morheim under a pen name, weaves cautionary Cold War allegory through its simple plot. The past's technological ruins conceal perils that spew death in waves of radiation, mirroring society's own nuclear anxieties. After a brief run in regional drive-ins, Variety dismissed it as juvenile drivel, and mainstream critics mostly ignored its release. Yet, within mixed double bills, its brisk runtime and earnest tone won over teenage audiences hungry for futuristic thrills. Rediscovered in the late 1970s by film preservationists, Teenage Caveman resurfaced on late-night television and at grindhouse revivals, where modern viewers embraced its stark minimalism and unintended philosophical depth. Film scholars now regard it as a primitive ancestor to later dystopian classics, highlighting Gordon's resourceful creativity under budgetary constraints. Today it endures as both a historical curiosity and a testament to the raw power of low-budget imagination. Its scratch 16mm prints cherished at science fiction, retrospectives, and underground screenings alike. Bride of the Gorilla, 1951. Kurt Siodmak's Bride of the Gorilla unfolds on an isolated Central American estate where passion, betrayal, and voodoo collide under a silver screen moon. Raymond Burr, years before his Perry Mason fame, stars as Link, a plantation manager whose infidelity unleashes an ancestral curse that transforms him into a savage gorilla each full moon, while Barbara Payton embodies the doomed beauty, Dolores, torn between love and dread. Co-star Lon Chaney Jr. brings understated menace as Dr. Vladimir, the somber practitioner who reveals the island's dark secrets through whispered rituals and flickering torchlight. Shot on Universal's backlot, for under $200,000, the production recycled jungle foliage and used painted cycloramas to conjure tropical nights, with soundstage floorboards slick with sprayed water to simulate dew-damp earth. Behind-the-scenes tensions ran high. Peyton clashed with Siodmak over her character's motivations, and Burr practiced guttural growls in local zoos to capture authentic primate resonance. Makeup legend Jack Pierce, famed for Frankenstein's monster, contributed prosthetic techniques to craft Link's transformation, although he later quipped that the gorilla mask was so ill-fitting he could barely see his co-stars. Composer Robert Newman layered bongos and rattling drums under a chanting chorus, heightening the film's voodoo aura. Despite critics decrying its tonal whiplash, sweeping melodrama one moment, pulpy horror the next, Southern drive-ins embraced its lurid promise, and Bride of the Gorilla thrived as a double-feature staple. In the 1970s, grindhouse programmers revived its prints, packing theaters with audiences eager for Burr's tragic transformation and Peyton's tear-streaked pleas. Modern genre scholars analyze its blend of human passion and supernatural horror as a unique hybrid, noting its influence on later Metamorphosis films and its commentary on unchecked desire. Today, its lobby cards command high prices, and horror conventions host panels dissecting its production lore. Though never a mainstream triumph, Bride of the Gorilla endures as a poetic oddity, where primal metamorphosis and colonial intrigue merge into a haunting cinematic relic. King Dinosaur, 1955. In King Dinosaur, debut filmmaker Burt Y. Gordon, soon to be nicknamed Mr. B.I.G., crafts an unforgettably earnest prehistoric adventure that triumphs through sheer audacity rather than resources. William Bryant leads an intrepid scientific expedition to a lost island, guided by Marvin Miller's ominous narration, where ancient reptiles believed extinct roam among primitive tribes. Gordon, producing, directing, and writing under the pseudonym Gordon Maxwell, financed the project on a shoestring budget under $15,000, repurposing off-rack lizard suits and hand-painted plaster backdrops to simulate a Cretaceous landscape. Extras scurried in ill-fitting dinosaur costumes, while garden-variety ferns and forced perspective setups attempted to sell the illusion of scale. The film's most legendary stunt involved Gordon suspending a rubber suit brontosaur via aluminum rods mere inches from the camera lens, an effect that inadvertently revealed the supports but nonetheless delivered unforgettable close-up roars. Composer Henry Mancini, early in his career, penned a spirited score that alternated between jaunty brass fanfares and tribal drum beats, injecting a surprising dynamism into the low-budget spectacle. Cinematographer Roger Webb masked glaring artifice with tight framing, though the occasional wobbling tree broke the spell. Critics at the time dismissed King Dinosaur as an unpolished oddity. Variety labeled it prehistoric kitsch, yet drove in audiences delighted in its unapologetic charm. The film recouped its budget within months, encouraging Gordon's future forays into creature features. In the 1980s, Mystery Science Theater 3000 resurrected it with affectionate mockery, cementing its legacy among bad movie aficionados. Today, King Dinosaur is studied in film schools as an exemplar of guerrilla-style filmmaking, a project whose cost-saving tactics fostered inventive problem-solving rather than hindered it. Collectors prize its original lobby cards, fan art depicts its oversized lizard antagonists, and annual retrospectives honor Gordon's belief that no budget is too small to unleash cinematic imagination. The Killer Shrews, 1959. Following the success of The Giant Gila Monster, producer Bill Cox and director Ray Krantz retreated to a West Texas ranch to film The Killer Shrews, a horror-comedy hybrid in which a hurricane strands a group of survivors on an island infested with voracious, genetically altered shrews. James Logan stars as Sheriff Cooper, whose pragmatic leadership contrasts sharply with the cacophony of squeaks issued by Muppet-esque shrew suits cobbled together from stuffed toy prototypes and mismatched fur patches. Ingrid Gaud's Anne Wright offers a poised foil, her calm demeanor heightening the tension as the creatures nibble at cabin door frames. With a budget under $100,000, the crew shot back-to-back with The Giant Gila Monster, recycling jungle foliage and set pieces to stretch every dollar. Makeup artist William Tuttle, fresh from Universal's Monster unit, fashioned rudimentary latex snouts that melted under intense studio lights, forcing last-minute reshoots to handle the shrews as static props manipulated by fishing lines. Les Baxter's rhythm-driven score, punctuated by rattling bones and tribal drums, underscores each scurry, while practical sound effects of squealing rodents grind the gears of cinematic dread. Initially, critics ridiculed its sluggish pacing. The Hollywood Reporter quipped that the shrews move with all the speed and menace of sleepy hamsters. But drive-ins across the South and Midwest embraced its campy thrills, selling out double-feature screenings. The film's lurid poster art, emblazoned with snarling fangs and panicked faces, became a collectible hallmark. In 1998, Mystery Science Theater 3000 lampooned its every misstep, introducing a new generation to its fuzzy terrors. Today, The Killer Shrews enjoys annual midnight screening celebrations at genre conventions, where fans don oversized rodent ears and reenact iconic chase sequences. Academics praise its inventive resourcefulness, noting how budgetary constraints spurred creative solutions that remain instructive for indie filmmakers. Though its shrews never inspired genuine terror, their legacy endures through affectionate parody and the film's unwavering spirit, proof that a handful of fur, 50 cents worth of latex, and genuine conviction can still deliver memorable frights. The Giant Gila Monster, 1959. Set against the dusty backdrop of rural Texas, the giant Gila monster introduces a colossal reptile whose scaled menace threatens small-town tranquility, transforming an ordinary hot rod haven into a battleground of survival. Directed by Ray Kellogg and produced by Ken Curtis, the film stars Don Sullivan as Mitch Heller, the intrepid gearhead whose roaring V8 becomes humanity's best weapon against the beaded lizard. Lynn LeMay's Sheriff Martin rallies local deputies to confront the creature, while Kellogg's decision to film on location amid mesquite scrub conceals a live Mexican beaded lizard partly concealed within oversized sets. Cinematographer Gordon Avil combined tight close-ups of the lizard with miniature town replicas, though mismatched lighting occasionally betrays the illusion. Ronald Stein's lean, guitar-driven score underpins chase scenes with ominous riffs, and theremin cues inject an otherworldly eeriness. Fulton Huey, the man tasked with wrangling the live lizard, recalled coaxing it forward with sugar-soaked sticks, only to be foiled by stray birds and sudden temperature swings that sent the creature scuttling off camera. Upon its 1959 release, critics moaned at its predictable plotting. Film Daily sniffed it, moves at a pace slower than its titular beast. Yet, drive-in patrons thronged to witness its rubber-scale terror. After fading into obscurity, a battered print resurfaced in the 1970s, catching the eye of Mystery Science Theater 3000 producers, who featured it in Season 6, transforming its flaws into comedic gold. This revival fueled a cult renaissance. Cinephiles flocked to midnight screenings in grubby revival houses, toasting the film's DIY ethos. Today, the giant Gila monster enjoys scholarly attention for its eco-horror subtext, a cautionary tale of human encroachment awakening nature's ancient predators, and its influence on subsequent creature features. Collectors prize original one-sheets, and fan blogs dissect its production stills, marveling at Kellogg's ability to evoke dread with minimal means. More than a B-movie oddity, it stands as a testament to resourceful filmmaking, a story that proves terror can flourish even when crafted with the humblest of tools. Not of This Earth, 1957. Roger Corman's lean debut, Not of This Earth, heralded a new era of economical sci-fi horror, introducing viewers to an alien emissary who blends into small-town America while harvesting human blood for his dying world. With a budget squeezed below $100,000 and a shooting schedule compressed into 4 whirlwind days, Corman wrote, directed, and produced from his modest office, casting Paul Birch in the chilling dual role of mysterious Mr. Johnson and his scientist doppelganger, Dr. Edgar Raymond. Beverly Garland anchors the film as Nadine, a determined hospital administrator whose empathy clashes with Johnson's cold logic, while Morgan Jones's detective Wilton lends a procedural edge as he unravels the envoy's true purpose. Production designer Joseph McMillan Johnson salvaged standing sets from various Universal sound stages, draping corridors and deep shadows to mask budgetary gaps. And cinematographer Floyd Crosby exploited chiaroscuro lighting to instill even sterile interiors with a creeping sense of dread. Composer Fred Katz's discordant piano motifs punctuate each suspenseful beat, while Core's rudimentary laser blasts, mere flashes filtered through colored glass, reduce hospital walls to papier-mâché rubble with surprising flair. Distributor American International Pictures marketed the film with sensational posters emblazoned "Earth Under Alien Siege" and aired radio spots featuring blood-curdling screams, luring teenagers to nocturnal screenings. Though The Hollywood Reporter initially praised Garland's performance but lamented the script's elliptical motivations, Variety recognized Corman's ability to squeeze genuine suspense from minimal means. The film bypassed major first-run theaters, thriving instead in drive-ins and late-night TV syndication, where its lean pacing and existential chill captivated audiences. Its success spawned two low-budget remakes in 1988 and 1995, yet none recaptured the original's stark potency. Corman later reflected that the film's rapid production cemented his philosophy. If you have a camera, shoot it. Who cares if it's 1,000,000 feet a day? His approach influenced a generation of indie filmmakers, and Not of This Earth is preserved in the Library of Congress as a cultural artifact. Monthly revival screenings and film school courses continue to analyze its economical craftsmanship, underscoring a timeless truth. Vision and verve can eclipse any vacuum in the budget, and sometimes the most unsettling terrors are those suggested by shadow rather than spectacle.